ever get back into it. No, it was something I did. Cool experience, but yeah, and
Amazing.
Hawaii has the best weddings, obviously. So
Oh, yeah.
And now
That's
you make
right.
how much money, Kelly? You've since you
Yeah.
joined the program?
How much money
I
did you make
know.
this week, Kelly? Yeah. How much money did you make this week?
About 60,000 this week.
60K?
Yeah, and
Boom,
it's only
boom.
the
Zero
Kelly's
fifth.
K?
a mastermind student, by the way, for those that want to know. In fact, let's go ahead and get things rolling. So, yeah, a couple of announcements because I think we're behind it, but I want to continue this conversation, Kelly, about your DJing experience. This is amazing. So, yeah, a couple of announcements. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to join us. It's almost noon for me, but I know it's morning time for a lot of you. To join us today on Friday. Hope you had a great week. Hope you're having a good day so far. A couple of announcements in regards to the group. Our third coach, Jackie Gibson, who's our SME as it relates to sourcing. She had her first call last night. It was a banger. It was super fire. Corey followed with our sales strategy. Our tech talk was incredible. Just an excellent week in the group all together, oozing value. I mean, just out like a fire coming from a fire hose. So I'm just like super happy and a little bit giddy. Last week we had Adam's testimonial. This week we had Emil's testimonial. Next week I'm getting a testimonial from Kelly, who I don't know if whoever's on the call just built 60K this week alone, crushing it. Has been in since February. So yeah, just very, very grateful. Yeah, grateful to be a part of this thing and surrounded by a lot of awesome people in this industry. And yeah, just happy. Yeah. Other than that, let's kind of get into it. So what I want to talk about today are I'll do a talking point and then we'll open it up for Q&A for Ask Me Anything. But I like to drop the knowledge. What I want to talk about today and bring to you are the three pillars, essential pillars to the fast path to cash flow and stable and consistent cash flow in your business. It's kind of twofold there. And the reason that is so important, regardless of whether, well, if you're pre-revenue and you're trying to start a business, you have two main priorities as a entrepreneur that is in a startup mode, pre-cash flow. Priority 1A is just get cash flowing as fast as you possibly can, and priority 1B is cost control. So you have to have these three pillars in order to do that. You can't have two, you can't have one, you got to have all three. And then if you're an existing business owner, you've already cash flowed, you've already done that icebreaker and proof of concept and all that good stuff. That's great, but truly, and all entrepreneurs have this illusion, this misconception, because we all get into this and we all want to start a business for the money. And so you will definitely make money in this business, but after being in it a while, if you haven't learned already or haven't figured it out already, what you should truly be coveting is long-term stability and consistency in the cash flow that you're bringing into your business. We don't want volatility, meaning we don't want this feast or famine cycle that a lot of, especially in the recruiting industry, a lot of folks deal with and battle against. And the reason that is because it's challenging enough being a business owner. That comes with a lot of expectations and pressure and stress naturally. Not that if you're doing it properly in a stable way that it's unmanageable, but it is there. It's a thing for sure. And if you start running a business and your business starts hitting this track of volatility, all of a sudden things become very much heavier to carry. Let's just put it that way. It becomes far more challenging. And as one person, that's a lot to carry. And so all of a sudden you start having mental health issues. And then to deal with those mental health issues, you start figure out ways to cope with those issues, anxiety, fear, depression, anger, whatever the case may be. You figure out coping mechanisms, which would be, alcoholism and drug addiction and overeating and being abusive and all of that stuff. And I tell people, you start running a volatile business, get ready because you're going to about to probably meet the worst version of yourself, because you're going to have to deal with that. So now all of a sudden you've got two major issues that you got to solve for, right? You got to figure out how to stabilize your business and fix yourself. And so that hole becomes even deeper, and the likelihood of you crawling out of it becomes less likely. And then ultimately, before you know it, you're out of business. And so volatility, regardless of whether you made 300K in a year, if you did it in a volatile way and it's taxing you personally, it can definitely knock you out 100%. So it's kind of like the silent killer. I know that's heart disease, but in recruiting, it's volatility. So yeah, you have to be out for that, and that's why these three pillars are so important, and why I bang this drum so often, especially in the club group, because it's a high level conversation, but you have to know it. It has to be a thing. And I would say for most people coming in, if you're brand new and you haven't started a business, you don't know them yet. So we've got obviously a playbook to roll you into that as fast as possible and get all of that set up in a stable way immediately out of the gate. But we do get a ton of people who have come in who have already started a business, and usually they are at least missing one of these in their business. That's why they're coming to a coaching program, because there's something not quite right, which ultimately the output of that is the volatility that we just talked about. And usually they have maybe one of these pillars dialed in, but there's one or two others that they don't have, that's causing them problems. And so got to have all three. Okay. Now I would say, just as a general benchmark, if you're let's say a younger business owner and your business is more new, say you're up and running for about a year to 2 years, at a minimum, you should be billing 20 to 50K a month consistently in your business. No lie. Like that's on the low end. And so if you're not doing that, then again, that's an output and an indication of volatility, and that you're probably missing something in one of these pillars. So the three pillars are this, and I'll drop it in the chat, just so us on the call currently can see this. Those watching the replay won't be able to see this, but just take notes, if you will. So the three pillars are this. First pillar is your funnel or technology that you're using. I'm going to deep dive on each of these. The second one is going to be the science of recruiting. And the third one is going to be the art of recruiting. Okay. All right. So I'll talk a little bit about each one. Now, in terms of the technology, the reason that your technology is super, super important is we have to be able to communicate with people. This is a digital age, digital era. And so we have to be able to communicate with people on the internet, but we need to be able to reach an audience in the right way that's going to get us traction, regardless of whether we're trying to do business development or candidate outreach. It really doesn't matter. There's technology and some sort of funnel involved on both sides of that. And so I hear people all the time, especially in all the different Facebook groups and all that, everybody's always kind of gate checking different platforms and this sort of thing. And yes, that is definitely important. There are tools that are going to get you what you need to do, be able to deliver that to you. And then there's tools that aren't. There are tools that are going to be more expensive and cheap and all that. And so yes, it is important to sign up for the right stuff. That's definitely part of it. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's way more to the funnel and the tech that you're using than just picking the right subscription. There's just way more to it. And so when we start kind of breaking that down as far as what is important, the things that are top of mind are the market segmentation. What markets are we reaching out to? What is our messaging to those markets? What does our copy look like? Is the messaging that we're sending to them, that we're putting out there, is it relevant? I think my walk and talk yesterday, if you caught that, it was the importance of relevance over personalization, which is super important at this point in the game. And so to have all of that dialed in while also using the right tools and hitting the right channels, it's essential. If you don't do that right, you're going to have a really hard time either cash flowing quickly or having sustained consistent cash flow in your business. It's just a fact. You have to have it. I also want to kind of like dig in a little bit on the relevance over personalization, and why that's a thing and why it wasn't a thing in the past. And so, um, what I hear and what I see from a lot of people, not only that come into this group, but outside of the group and circles that I swim in and people that I talk to, um, the recruiting industry is actually coming out of kind of a not a golden era, but a really good stretch, from let's say 2020 to the tail end of last year, where literally you could you could send an email or a LinkedIn DM or cold call or text message, literally any type of decision maker, within any industry, within any organization, and land a contract. I mean, it was easy. It was very, very easy. And so, um, there were a lot of people that came into the business that didn't really have much game behind what they were doing, a lot of strategy behind what they were doing. They were just kind of taking some high level pointers from different folks, and they were working, and that's awesome. When the economy is pumping, that's one of the cool things about recruiting is that everybody will likely eat. Some will eat more than others, but yeah, you can do very little and make some decent money while things are good. But listen, we all know that is inevitable. It's inevitable that that will change. Okay, and so fast forward to where we're at today, the economy is different. We're not in a growth economy right now. We're in more of a value play economy, and so there are winners and losers, and the folks that bring the most value, the most juice to the clients that are in need of our services are the ones winning. And so those that were previously just throwing spaghetti at a wall and catching whatever fell in their lap, those folks are really, really struggling and having a hard time. It's not their fault. It's what it is. It's the way markets work. And so, yeah, you have to be able to connect with those folks that are actually in need of our services, and that's where the importance of relevance over personalization comes in. Okay, that's why the relevance component is so critical right now, especially in the BD game. And the reason being is because everybody for a while now, because things have been so good, the trick has been, oh, just personalize your emails, make it personal to the person that you're sending it to, make your DMs personal to them, meaning, mention the company that they work for, mention the industry that they're in, mention them by first name. And so, yeah, of course, that's important. You don't want to you don't want to come off spammy, and you definitely want to, make it seem like you know who you're talking to, but that's not enough these days. What you have to have in your outreach and in your funnel and the technology that you're using in an automated way, you have to be able to ensure that the message that you're sending is relevant to the person that is receiving it. And what do I mean by relevance? Relevance, what I mean is basically if I'm sending them an email about offering some recruiting services, do I know for sure that that's something that they're dealing with? Did they recently just have somebody leave their department? Has there been a shift in leadership? Do they, is there something dynamic going on within their organization to indicate that what I'm sending to them is going to be of value and meaningful, or are they going to get my email and be like, oh my God, this is freaking annoying. We're not even hiring. That's a big difference. And you have to have the funnel and the technology to be able to do that in an automated way. So that's why that's super, super important. Okay. Number two, the science of recruiting. Got to have it. It's absolutely critical for a number of different reasons. And so what I mean by the science is the numbers, the KPIs, the metrics that track and measure our activity as business owners, from what I call order to cash or cradle to grave, or from beginning to end, and everything that we do in our business. So starting from our outreach to clients to collecting money and receiving money in our bank account and everything in between, there are important indicators and metrics that we need to be paying attention to and measuring and analyzing and all of this good stuff. And so why is that important? Well, for starters, we need to know what benchmarks exist for the different things that we have to do in our business in order to generate cash flow quickly and in a sustained way. And why is a benchmark important? Well, that's important because benchmarks tell us whether or not we're doing good or not, right? And if you don't know what your benchmarks are, then in your measuring stuff, then you just are kind of tracking numbers to track numbers. You don't know really what those numbers or what that data is telling you. And so you need to know if you're doing good or not. Super, super important. The other thing is metrics and the science. If you do have those benchmarks dialed in, one of the cool things about this business is as long as you are you have your funnel dialed in, your first pillar, and the third pillar that we're going to talk about in a second, which is the art of recruiting. As long as you have those dialed in, you can literally turn this business into a math equation. You can pick a revenue target and back in and reverse engineer damn near everything else, but you have to have the numbers and the benchmarks to do it. Which is, it's interesting. It's a cool thing. It's a luxury that we have in this business. Not every business has that. The other reason why you have to have the science of recruiting down is so that you have visibility to your business and you are able to see when things in a proactive way, when things begin to shift and not go your way, when a problem begins to occur in your business, because it absolutely will happen. There are going to be leading indicators operationally in your business that are going to be able to tell you when things start going sideways before you actually see it in your bank account or in your AR or your client feels it or whatever the case may be. And so to be able to see that early on, while it's still just a little thing, a little flame, and be able to stomp it out at the early stages and correct it is everything. And it's absolutely critical if your intention is to be a stable business earning cash flow month in and month out. In fact, this is usually one of the main pillars that I see existing owners not have dialed in, where they're making money. They've figured out how to close clients and make placements, but to do it in a consistent way, they can't put it together. And this is usually one of the areas that we see that they have a gap. And so why is that important? Well, for one thing, we all should, in order to be stable and consistent, we all should strive to be one of the best in this business and doing it, right? That's going to be an indication of the edge that we bring, the value that we deliver to our clients, and all of that good stuff. But I talk about this all the time. One of the main characteristics that differentiate best-in-class businesses and everybody else, all their other competition, regardless of what industry you're in, whether it's recruiting or manufacturing or whatever, is their ability to be preventative and proactive, to see the whole field, to see the whole board, and avoid different headwinds, landmines, constraints, whatever that exist in their business. And the way that they have that visibility is through measuring their business and the different things in their business. Now, the other thing that I'll tell you as far as metrics is one of the cool things about measuring this stuff is it gives you an opportunity to identify the inputs to your business. All right, the inputs being information, people, resources, platforms, technology, materials, whatever that we use and manipulate by executing a process to deliver an output that ultimately yields us some revenue. And so here's a little dirty little secret about being preventative and proactive. The way you achieve that, the way you actually control and manipulate your outputs, ultimately, i.e. the value that you deliver to your client, the way you do that is actually through managing your inputs proactively. So the mistake that most people make is they focus on the outputs and they try to fix the outputs. Oh man, have a no-show. A lot of my candidates are no-showing interviews. I can't get my clients on a call after they positively reply to me. I can't find candidates for this role. Those are outputs. I'm obsessing over how to figure that out. When instead you should be looking at your inputs, right? How am I responding to positive replies when clients say, yeah, I'm interested? Is there something I'm doing there that's turning them off? What's my messaging like? What channels am I sourcing candidates in? Am I going to LinkedIn like everybody else, like the last 5 recruiters that recruited to this role, or am I leveraging something else? Got to focus on those inputs. So measuring your business, the science of recruiting delivers that for you and gives you that ability. Got to have it. Third pillar is going to be the art of recruiting. Okay. And man, I wish you guys could have heard our sales strategy call last night. So the art of recruiting is all about uh, building rapport, making connections, earning trust, in the people side of this business. Because even though we are heavily leveraged against technology, and obviously the numbers and the metrics and the science are super important, the art, this is a people business. The art is absolutely essential. It is the glue that holds pillar one and pillar two and makes those work. Okay. So you can measure your business, but if you don't know how to talk to people and how to actually get people across the finish line, then the numbers don't mean nothing. It's a nothing burger. It's zero. So you got to be able to build rapport. You got to be able to make connections with people. You got to be able to earn trust, and all of that. The reason I wish you guys could have heard the call last night with Corey. One of the things that we do in that call is we'll we'll take recordings from our students and sales calls, clients, candidate screenings, discovery call. I mean, literally anything and everything, interviews, whatever. And we'll analyze it, break it down, and give you feedback and all that good stuff. And so one of our students had one, and he crushed it. I mean, he built rapport right out of the gate, and he had this client, I mean, just begging him to do business with him, essentially. And the interesting thing about that call was out of the gate, he was very standoffish. It was kind of cringe, to be honest with you, because he definitely had the vibe of like, oh God, I'm about to waste 30 minutes of my day. Why did I sign up for this? Like, why did I take this call with this guy? That was totally his vibe. And our boy Nick, he flipped him. I mean, within like the first 30 seconds, it was incredible, and then carried that on. And so, yeah, super important. You have to be able to do that in this business. Even beyond that, right? When you're submitting candidates to your point of contact, whether that be a hiring manager or HR person or whatever the case may be, when emails hit their inbox from you, you want to invoke the reaction of like, ooh, let me see what Danny just sent me. Oh, good. Danny reached out. Let's see what he's got. As opposed to like, oh, there's Danny. What else I got here? That's a thing. 100%. If you don't think that's a real thing, the people that we're working with within our clients' organizations, they got a full plate. 100%. That's why they're reaching out to you. That's why they're working with you, so that you can offload some of that and they can get some of their time back to do other stuff. And so if they don't see you as a value add, then they're going to be maybe hesitant or slow or reluctant to want to get back to you, want to push your candidates forward, so on and so forth. Conversely, if you've got that connection, you've built that rapport, you've earned that trust, you've demonstrated that value, they're going to get back to you quicker. They're going to be looking for your emails. They're going to be excited when you send them. When your number pops up on their phone, they're going to pick up that phone or get right back to you, because you're helping them. You're making them look good, all of that. Super, super, super important. Yeah. So again, all of that is the glue that holds everything together, and you have to be able to do it. The other thing about the art of recruiting that I'll say real quick before we jump into Q&A here, the other piece of the art of recruiting is strategically being able, after you've earned that trust and respect and confidence from your clients and candidates, strategically being able to navigate conversations with them for them to be able to give you information about what they have going on, so that we can use that to ultimately pull candidates across the finish line on offers. Okay. We know, if you've spent 2 seconds in this business, you know that there are things that will likely and for sure not go your way. Usually you'll get a low ball offer, or clients will drag their feet on setting up interviews or getting you feedback or any of that kind of stuff. And conversely, candidates taking counter offers and not taking opportunities serious, etc. If you're able to build trust and rapport, with both sides of the fence, then you're able to glean information from them to, one, proactively assess before you invest a bunch of time and resources into those relationships, whether they're for real about you, that they're not going to waste your time, that this is a serious thing for them, it's a priority, and that the effort that you're about to put into this is not going to be wasted, because we know time wasters are another catastrophic landmine that you could step on in this thing that could knock you out. The other thing too is that, assuming that it is worthwhile, when things go start to go sideways through the process. And the reason that'll happen is because as recruiters, there's only so much that we actually control in the process. So when that happens, let's say the example I like to use is when a client wants to throw down a low ball offer to your candidate after everybody's 500 times agreed that, yeah, he's 100K, that's going to be the number to get him to move. And then all of a sudden, here comes the offer and it's at 90K. You've got something to go back to the client with. Like, hey, remember how you were telling me, like, if you didn't hire this engineer to get this product released to your market, that you're going to miss your revenue target and have to lay off 10 people? Is that really worth 10K? Like, this dude will walk. You sure you want to do that? Like, come on. I mean, what are we really talking about here? And then conversely with your candidate, hey, yeah, so I got some, you're definitely going to get an offer, but I don't know for sure, but it could come in maybe 5 or 10K light. But I don't want that to spook you. Remember, you're getting 20 hours a week back at home with your family. It's not worth 10K. It's worth way more than that. So I don't know. It might come in at that number, maybe even higher. But if it does come in lower, like just remember what you're really getting by making this move. So now you have a strategy because you're able to build rapport and glean information up front, upstreaming your process with these folks that you're working with, to be able to ultimately, when these things happen, because they definitely will happen, you're not going into it with a strategy of, oh man, I hope Gail takes this shitty offer. that can't be the strategy. That can't be what you're rolling with, because then you're gambling, right? Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, and then boom, if that's what you're rolling with, here comes that volatility. All right, well, this month Gail didn't take the shitty offer, so we're not making any money this month.
But you
Well,
didn't
next month
have money to take the job, and if you
Oh,
would've
okay.
taken
All right.
it-
I'm going to shoot that offer over, Gail. That's what, yeah, we didn't get it in your inbox in time. So yeah, you got to have it. It's absolutely critical that all three of those pillars exist, right? The funnel, the tech, you got to be able to reach out to the right people with the right messaging at the right time, and communicate with them on the internet. Got to have it. If you can't do it, you're not gonna be successful. Number two, you got to be able to measure things in your business and know when you're doing good and when you're not doing good. Have the visibility to where when things start to backslide a little bit, that you see it immediately, and triage and correct before it becomes 2 or 3 months without making money. And boom, all of a sudden, oh my God, my sales pitch sucks, or my outreach to clients suck, or I'm sourcing candidates in the wrong place, or my screening process sucks. You need to know that way up front so that your revenue isn't impacted. And then the third thing, you got to be able to move and connect with these people in this business and build long-term sustainable relationships. Period. So got to have them. Those are the three. And then I'll give you a bonus fourth pillar. Okay, got to have the mindset. Got to have the right mindset to be in this thing. All right, and really in any business, you got to have it. But spoiler alert, this is the real world. This is a real business. And so there are going to be disappointments. There are going to be things that don't go your way. And to know that going into it and have your head screwed on straight and be prepared for that and bulldoze through whatever those obstacles are, because they will be there, is absolutely essential as well. You got to have that. You got to have that mindset. So yeah, hopefully you found some value in that and that resonates with you. Yeah, if you want the actual playbook and strategies on how to deliver all of that in your business very, very quickly, book a call with us. I'd love to share that with you. You can try to figure it out. It might take you months, if not years, if ever. It might knock you out of the game. Turn those months or years into days. Literally, come into our group. We'll give you the playbook. We'll give you the juice to get you rolling. Yeah, with that, I will open it up for questions. Who's got a question? Okay, well, great call. Nobody has a question? Anybody? No questions? Nobody's got a question? Nothing? Going once? Going twice? Everybody's ready for the weekend.
Jessica wanted me to tell you that she's at the gym, but she'd like you to tell her 20% story, that she converted some guy who was going from 10% to 20%.
Awesome. Yeah. What's up, Jessica? Getting her health and fitness on. So this actually ties into the art of recruiting. So Jessica, obviously one of the things that, if you don't know this, one of the things that's a real dynamic in our industry and in the markets that we serve currently is recruiter fatigue, especially when it comes to like LinkedIn and if you're doing cold email and running that game. There are people that are just burnt. They've worked with a lot of crappy recruiters. They've heard the whole song and dance over the last 2 or 3 years, and they just are skeptical. There's a lot of skepticism out there with decision makers because they basically have heard it all. They've signed the agreements. They've turned the job orders over, and then received no value, no candidates, no value, no nothing. And so oftentimes, when you are reaching out, especially in the business development world, when you're reaching out to decision makers, they might have a need, but they're not going to be super eager to jump on a call with you. They want to know if you're for real or not. So you got to slow step them a little bit. And so there's an art to that on how you handle those situations and how you flip the conversation. And so Jessica yesterday, in fact, I'll do a Loom. I know I have Jessica's permission, so I'll do a Loom and I'll post it in the club group of the back and forth with this guy with the client blurred out. But she did a masterful. Basically, he hit her with, I'll work with you, but only at 10%. If you're not at 10%, then I'm out. And so she basically said, I can see why you're struggling, because legit recruiters don't work for 10%. And even if they did, you're definitely not getting prioritized. And then basically went through this whole breakdown of how she brings value and how she's different and so on and so forth. She empathized with him. And at the end of the conversation, the exchange, this dude's like definitely going to sign her agreement and at 20%, which was incredible. She did that in the course of like a day, just back and forth. But that's a beautiful example of executing the art of recruiting to a T. Super awesome. All right. Okay. One last call for questions. If not, we can wrap it there. Nothing? Okay, cool. All right. Enjoyed it. Hope everybody got some value. If you want to speak with us, you want to learn more about us, book a call. If not, we'll catch you in the club group. And Oh, next week, Kelly's testimonial. Make sure you watch that. She built 60K in 3 minutes. I don't know, within the last week. It's insane. So she'll be telling us how she did that. And y'all have a great weekend, and we will catch you later.
Have a good weekend.
Ciao.